There was a time not so long ago when the math was simpler for many American families. One person, usually a father, he went to work and was able to earn a decent income. His paycheck was enough without the need of a second income earner. It was often enough to cover the mortgage on a modest house in a decent neighborhood. It was enough to put food on the table for the entire family, week after week. It was enough to pay for the car and the gas to run it. The occasional repairs that always seemed to pop up at the worst possible time. Life wasn't extravagant. It was not a world of luxury or constant vacations. But all of this for millions meant that it was a life of stability and predictability. This stability was the foundation of the American dream. It meant that a parent could afford to stay home and raise the children without the household finances collapsing. It meant that a family could slowly build some savings as well, and to put a little bit aside each month into a fund for retirement, or perhaps a down payment on a bigger home down the road. The single earner's job provided a solid sense of security. It wasn't just about covering today's bills as what seems to be the case today. It was about having a reasonable expectation that you could also plan for tomorrow, for your children's future, and to live to a comfortable old age. And that promise was the bedrock of a thriving middle class. Of course, this picture was not universal. It was a reality more accessible to some than to others, but the possibility was there. A factory worker, a school teacher, or an office clerk could reasonably expect to support a family on their wages alone. Unfortunately, this is not so true today. This economic structure shaped society. It created neighborhoods where kids played outside until the streetlights came on, watched over by mothers who were at home. It built a sense of community and shared experience. The idea was simple. If you worked hard and played by the rules, you could provide a secure life for your family. However, that fundamental promise has been broken. Today, that memory feels like a story from a distant past, a faded dream. So what happened? Well, we will attempt to answer that very important question. For a growing number of families, the idea of one income covering all the bills seems completely impossible. The core of the problem is a painful divergence. For several decades, two lines on a graph that should have moved together began to split apart. This is where things began to change. One line represented the wages of the typical American worker. The other line represented the cost of living. For a long time, as the economy grew, workers' pay grew with it. But starting in the 70s and accelerating over time, that link weakened. It is important to understand that this was when things began to take a turn. Worker productivity continued to climb, meaning each worker was producing more value. The financial rewards of that productivity flowed to the top. However, the average worker rarely seen any additional financial rewards for their hard work. Wages for most people stagnated or grew at a snail's pace. The prices of big-ticket items that form the foundation of a middle-class life began to soar. Housing, healthcare, premiums, healthcare, deductibles. So let's break down the specific costs that created this perfect storm of financial pressure. It's important to understand how and when things began to change. Housing is the biggest expense for most families, and its rising cost has done the most damage. In many cities and even suburbs, both rent and home prices have detached from local wages. A person earning the median income in their area can no longer afford the median-priced home. Renters are hit especially hard, with landlords often requiring that income be 3 times the monthly rent. This can be very difficult to pay. This forces families into a corner, spending 30, 40, or even 50% of their take-home pay just to keep a roof over their heads. Next is healthcare. The United States spends more per person on healthcare than any other developed nation, yet the results are not always better. For families, this translates into high monthly insurance premiums, often deducted directly from their paychecks. But the costs don't stop there. High deductibles mean that a family might have to pay thousands of dollars out of their own pocket before their insurance even begins to cover major expenses. A single trip to the emergency room, a necessary surgery, or a new diagnosis can trigger a cascade of bills that can wipe out savings in an instant and lead you directly into debt. Medical debt is a uniquely American crisis that haunts millions. Then there is the staggering cost of childcare. For a family with young children, this expense can be as large as a mortgage or rent payment. Quality childcare is essential for parents who need to work, but its high price creates a terrible catch. You know, a catch-22. In many cases, a second earner's entire paycheck is consumed by the cost of daycare for their children. This leaves families running in place, working harder just to break even. The lack of affordable, high-quality childcare acts as a major barrier to economic security and puts an immense strain on parents, particularly mothers, who often have to make difficult choices about their careers. Finally, education and the nature of work itself have added to the burden. The price of college has risen at a rate far exceeding inflation, forcing students and their families to take on massive amounts of student loan debt. Graduates start their working lives already in a deep financial hole, making it harder than ever to save for a home or retirement. At the same time, the job market has also changed. The stable 40-hour-a-week job with benefits is being replaced by gig work, part-time roles, and contract positions. These jobs often lack predictable schedules, paid sick leave, health insurance, and retirement plans, creating income volatility and making it nearly impossible to plan for the future. The result of these converging pressures is a widespread condition of financial fragility. Today, living paycheck to paycheck is the new normal for a shocking number of Americans. Recent surveys consistently show that around 6 out of 10 adults in the U.S. are living this way. This means that at the end of the month, after all the bills are paid, there is little to nothing left over. It's a state of permanent financial vulnerability, where a single unexpected event, a car repair, a broken appliance, a dental emergency, can become a full-blown crisis. It means having no cushion, no safety net, and no room for error. This reality cuts across many demographics. It is not just a problem for low-wage workers. Though disappearing middle-income families, even those earning what seems like a good salary, often feel the same squeeze, especially if they live in high-cost areas. A household earning $100,000 a year can still be living paycheck to paycheck in a city where the median home price is over $1 million and childcare costs $2,000 a month per child. The stress is relentless. It's the constant mental calculation of balancing due dates, juggling credit card payments, and worrying about how to make it all work until the next payday. The emotional toll of this financial instability is immense. It creates a constant low-grade anxiety that permeates every aspect of life. It can certainly strain marriages as well, and affect parents' ability to be there for their children when needed. The joy is drained from life when every decision, from buying groceries to planning a child's birthday party, must be filtered through a lens of financial scarcity. People are working longer hours and taking on side hustles, not to get ahead, but simply to keep their heads above water. This is not the economic security that the American dream had once promised. This is the legacy of the shift from one income to two incomes, but not necessarily with better results. The second income was not a path to prosperity, but a necessary adaptation for survival in a broken economy. It left families with less time and more stress. There is no longer a stay-at-home parent to manage the household, run errands, and care for a sick child, so families must now pay for services that used to be handled within the home. The two-income trap means that while a household's gross income may look higher on paper, the net result, after accounting for taxes, childcare, and other work-related expenses, is often a marginal gain in exchange for a major loss of time and flexibility. The question that hangs in the air for so many, though, is a simple one. What happened? This is an important question that deserves an answer. And how did we get here? From a place of relative security with just one paycheck to a state of constant financial stress, even with two people working harder than ever before. The answer is not simple, but it is one we must understand. The single-income household, once a symbol of middle-class achievement, has become a rarity, often a luxury reserved for the very wealthy. Fixing this problem requires more than just telling families to budget better. Personal responsibility has a role, but it cannot solve systemic economic failures. We need bold, clear-headed policy changes that address the root causes. The first and most direct solution is to ensure that workers are paid a living wage. This means raising the federal minimum wage so full-time work covers basic necessities. It also means strengthening the power of workers, unions, and collective bargaining. When wages keep pace with productivity, families have more breathing room. Second, we must aggressively tackle the housing affordability crisis. On the supply side, we need to reform zoning laws that restrict new housing. Build more duplexes. Build small apartment buildings in areas with good jobs. On the demand side, expand rental assistance programs. Expand tax credits to help low and middle-income renters. Making housing more affordable would be the single biggest step toward easing the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle for millions. Third, the costs of healthcare and childcare must be brought under control. For healthcare, expand access to affordable insurance. Cap out-of-pocket healthcare costs. Negotiate lower prices for prescription drugs. No family should face bankruptcy because someone got sick. For childcare, we need a national investment similar to other developed countries. Subsidizing high-quality childcare and preschool would provide massive financial relief. It would also enable more parents to participate fully in the workforce, boosting the economy. Finally, we need to update our tax code and worker protections for the 21st century economy. Expand tax credits that put more money into working families' pockets, like the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit. Establish basic standards for the modern workforce, including paid sick leave, predictable scheduling, and portable benefits that aren't tied to a single employer. These policies would create a stronger safety net, making family finances more resilient to the inevitable bumps in the road of life and work. While large-scale policy changes are essential, families living in this reality right now need strategies they can use today. Families across America are in desperate need for change today. Taking control of what you can control is a powerful step, even when external forces are strong. The first and most fundamental action is to create a budget. This doesn't need to be a complex spreadsheet. It can be as simple as writing down your monthly income and tracking every dollar you spend. The goal is not to judge your spending, but to understand it. Knowing exactly where your money is going is the first step to redirecting it toward what matters most to you. Once you have a clear picture of your finances, the next goal is to build an emergency fund. This is the single most effective tool against the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. It may seem impossible when money is already tight, but starting small is key. Aim to save just $10 or $20 a week, or what you can. Automate the transfer from your checking to a separate savings account so you don't even have to think about it. The initial goal could be to save $500. That small cushion can be the difference between a car repair being a minor inconvenience and a major financial catastrophe that sends you into debt. It is also crucial to be proactive about finding and using available resources. Research programs like the Earned Income Tax Credit, local utility assistance programs, food banks. There is no shame in using a support system that is designed to help people get through tough times. On the income side, consider paths to increasing your earnings. Seeking training for a higher-paying skill, looking for a better-paying job in your field, or exploring a flexible side hustle that fits your family's schedule. Finally, aggressively manage and reduce high-interest debt, which acts like an anchor on your finances. Credit card debt is particularly damaging. Focus on paying down the card with the highest interest rate first, while making minimum payments on the others. Look into consolidating your debt with a lower-interest personal loan if possible. These personal steps are not a cure-all. They are difficult to implement when you are stretched thin, but they can create a small amount of breathing room and a sense of agency in an economic environment that often feels overwhelming and out of your control. The journey from a single-income household to a nation where most families live paycheck to paycheck was not an accident. It was the result of decades of choices. Choices about wages, taxes, healthcare. The good news is that we can make different choices. We are not destined to live in a state of constant financial anxiety. We can rebuild an economy where hard work once again leads to real security. This is not a partisan issue. It is a family issue. It is about restoring the basic promise that if you contribute to our society, you can build a decent life for yourself and your children. This change must happen on two fronts. As individuals and families, we must continue to do everything in our power to manage our finances wisely, save where we can, and to advocate for ourselves in the workplace. But we must also recognize the limits of personal effort in a system with such strong headwinds. We cannot budget our way out of unaffordable housing or a healthcare crisis. Unaffordable housing, a healthcare crisis. We must raise our voices together and demand that our elected leaders address the systemic failures that have put so many families in this precarious position. This is a shared problem that requires a shared solution. Our elected leaders are responsible for much of what has happened over the years, as well as what is currently happening now. So we should demand policies that link wages to economic growth. We should demand a national commitment to making housing, healthcare, and childcare affordable for working families. Housing, healthcare, and childcare. We should demand a tax system that doesn't favor wealth over work. These are not radical ideas. They are the building blocks of a stable, prosperous, and fair society. They are investments that will pay dividends for generations to come in the form of healthier families, stronger communities, a more resilient economy for everyone. The cost of inaction is too high. It is the erosion of hope and the slow collapse of the American dream. The path forward is clear. It requires sincere courage and cooperation from our leaders and engagement from all of us. The story of one paycheck that could cover the bills does not have to be a relic of the past. We can create a new story for the 21st century. One where a decent job allows a family to live with dignity and security, and the freedom to plan for the future with hope instead of fear. The time for small adjustments are over. The time for fundamental change is now. Let's get to work building an economy that works for every family. However, it must start with fairness and the changes in which we think, beginning with our leaders and the laws that they adopt. We can rebuild an economy where hard work leads to stability and opportunity, where a paycheck stretches to cover the basics and a little more, a future where families can breathe, plan, and thrive. Together, we can make that future real. Your story matters, and your voice can help drive change. I hope that you have found this information helpful. Thank you for watching. Take care, until next time.